It's always been a bit of a mystery as to how the Hutt clan actually works. I have to admit that the Book of Boba Fett is very courageous in its undertaking of actually trying to figure this stuff out. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are known as the saviors of Star Wars in a way, but this is a huge problem in unraveling the mystery that is the Hutt clan, starting with, of course, the age-old question, where is Jabba's son? In the original trilogy, we were never really made aware that Jabba had any sons or daughters or anything. He was just a lowly Hutt cartel leader that was mired in debauchery, as we saw by the Twi'lek slaves and even Leia. However, by the time of the Phantom Menace, we get to see that Jabba is not all alone. In the Bounty of Pod Race, we clearly see Jabba with what looks like a smaller Hutt, who probably is his son. Then the confirmation officially came in the form of the animated movie released in 2008, directed by Dave Filoni himself, Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated movie. In that movie, we now officially get introduced to Jabba the Hutt's son, Rotta. In fact, it is Count Dooku who kidnaps Jabba's son, Rotta, in hope of framing the Jedi Order and subsequently scamming the Hutt cartel into joining the Clone Wars. We all know what happens next. Anakin and Ahsoka go on to foil Dooku's plans and rescue Rotta. The unfortunate truth, however, is that ever since that moment, we have basically never seen or heard from Rotta ever again. With the Book of Boba Fett now underway and Episode 2 showing the inner politics of the Hutts, where the cousins of Jabba the Hutt, the twins, have actually now come forward to claim their own territory from Boba. With all this going on, the question has to be asked, where the heck is Jabba's son Rotta to actually take his father's place? And even going back further, why Bib Fortuna took the reins instead of Jabba's son? To examine this, we need to go back further. You see, the criminal empire behind Jabba the Hutt is somewhat examined in some comic books and novels, even in the animated series as we talked about in the Clone Wars. Not only the movie, but there are episodes where we clearly see the Hutt cartel in action and even their council. In some way, the Hutt clan is one of the 5 syndicates that control the criminal underworld in the Star Wars universe, especially in Legends, where we see Darth Maul's Crimson Dawn, the Black Sun Syndicate. These organizations are largely a mystery still, but now the Hutt clan's fate following Jabba's death is an even bigger mystery that, surprisingly, the Book of Boba Fett is trying to explore. It all started when we realized that Bib Fortuna superseded Jabba's throne after his death. Now in Episode 2, we see the twins that are original characters that were created for the Book of Boba Fett. They are Jabba's cousins. And in this way, Jabba's family tree has been somewhat chronicled in both canon and especially in Legends. But as far as we know, the only known cousin to Jabba the Hutt in canon was Kraka, who was introduced in the 2019 comic book Star Wars Adventures Return to Vader's Castle number 4. She in fact attempted to betray Jabba and the Hutt clan and therefore was quickly disposed of. But what about Bib Fortuna? Why didn't the twins come by to overtake Bib Fortuna's throne, the guy who has been sitting on the throne for years now? Well, it is unclear if Bib Fortuna actually was ruling Tatooine or Mos Espa for that matter, or was he just the interim ruler until the Hutts could determine for themselves. As far as we could see, Bib Fortuna was just getting fat and sitting on his ass. However, Boba Fett is not doing that. He is actively going around and staking his claim, which of course means that the Hutts now see Boba as a legitimate threat. Now, we've seen the Hutt families or the Hutt cartel before. They are one of the greatest organized criminal enterprises in Star Wars, so much so that Palpatine himself sent Vader numerous times in the comics to negotiate with Jabba the Hutt when he was alive. Even Palpatine knew that he couldn't push the Hutt cartel around. In the Clone Wars series, we see that the Hutts are made up of clans. They are basically a mafia or divided into families, and the Hutt clan is overseen by the Grand Hutt Council, which is made up of leaders of the 5 most powerful families. Most recently, we saw that in the Darth Vader and Star Wars comic series in the bidding for Han Solo. We see the Hutt Council and the demise of Boku the Buff. And in some respects, we see the decline of the Hutt Council since Darth Vader, by his lonesome, comes in and bullies not only Jabba the Hutt but the Council entirely. If we start talking Legends material, then the power of the Hutt clan was considerable even in the Old Republic era. Their rule within Hutt space was formidable even back then. But those days were long gone because, as I said in the War of the Bounty Hunter series where Darth Vader comes in, after Empire Strikes Back it is shown that the Hutt Council's influence had waned down, so much so that Vader bullied everybody, and with Boku the Buff betraying the Hutt Council, it was Darth Vader who came in and killed every single Hutt Council member, leaving only Jabba to reign as the sole leader of the Grand Hutt Council. Unfortunately, as we see, this was for a very short amount of time, because in Return of the Jedi, it was Leia Organa who choked Jabba to death. Unfortunately though, when we ask the question, where is Rotta? Canon gives us basically no answers whatsoever, even now with The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. The sad part is, even pre-Disney or Legends material, there is seldom to none about Jabba's son Rotta. We know that he was born 32 years before the Battle of Yavin. So by this account, at the time of The Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett, he is a full-grown adult. Around the time of Revenge of the Sith, we know that the Shadow Collective with Darth Maul was getting very formidable. So in 20 BBY, Jabba became paranoid that Darth Maul and the Shadow Collective would soon attack his palace and therefore sent Rotta away from his palace. This is a small explanation in Legends again of why we don't see Rotta hanging around Jabba that much. And the last thing we have of Rotta in Legends is unfortunately only around mentioning him because there's nothing concrete that talks about him, but after the war in 4 ABY, Zorba, Rotta's grandfather, came up with Jabba's will. This will was fake at the time, and it claimed that Jabba did not have any children to run his criminal empire after his death, and therefore Zorba was to inherit everything. However, the Hutt courts later declared that this will of Jabba the Hutt was a forgery, and therefore the hope that Rotta is still alive out there somewhere is still relevant. However, all this has been declared Legends as of right now. Canon-wise, there's nothing about Jabba's will and even about Rotta. So I don't understand why Jon Favreau and especially Dave Filoni, who created Rotta basically for the Clone Wars movie that came out in 2008, I don't know for the life of me why Dave Filoni won't tackle this question as to where the heck is Jabba's son and why he isn't involved with the politics after his father's death. In my opinion, the Hutt twins should have been Rotta, not some distant cousins that we've never heard of. This would have been a perfect opportunity to bring back Rotta the Hutt, Black Chrysanthemum, everybody from Boba's past, and let the new canon material flourish, but so far we have nothing of that. So would you like to see something about Jabba's son, at least a mention, so that we know what the heck is going on? Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you can have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.